What we don't have an up-close view of is Donald Trump's running mate in the 2024 election because he has yet to announce them. But Democrats are not waiting. They're already sounding the alarm that any vice presidential candidate Trump chooses will be in lockstep with his ultra-MAGA agenda. This past week, Axios reported the DNC plans to paint Trump's VP contenders as extreme due to their election denialism and stances on abortion and other policy issues. Joining us now is the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison. Welcome to you, sir. Jamie, we know that you heard our conversation. I just want to know if you'd like to respond to anything you heard Michael and I say, about this. You are the DNC chair. You're out there trying to help cobble together the coalition for the president's reelection, and Republicans are part of that coalition.
Well, they are. And, the DNC works hand in glove with the campaign. We look at the DNC as our main responsibility is the base of our party, making sure that they're educated, and they're motivated, and that they turn out. While the campaign is also engaging with those folks, they are also working with some of the persuasion targets, which include Nikki Haley voters. And they've done that since the first day that Nikki Haley dropped out of the race. This campaign has been focused on ads, text messages, and having conversations with leaders in that Haley group to make sure that they understand that Joe Biden is the only thing that is holding back the threat of Donald Trump in terms of destroying American democracy. Because if American democracy goes, if it's destroyed, it's not destroyed just for Democrats, not just destroyed for independents, but for all of us. And that includes Republicans as well. And so it's important that they understand the stakes in this election. And that's the reason why they supported Nikki Haley in the first place, not because they adored Nikki Haley. Any of us who knew Nikki Haley knew that what happened a few days ago was going to happen. She's going to stick her finger in the political wind and do whatever she thought was in her best interest. But those people who went to vote for her were actually voting against Donald Trump. They did not want what they saw for 4 years that Donald Trump was able to push forward. And so that's really where we are in this election. We're going to make sure that we're talking to those folks in addition to aggressively going after and educating our voters in the Democratic Party.
Chairman, it's good to see you, my friend. It's been a while.
Always good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
You're looking good, baby. Looking good. So here's the deal. Y'all got some work to do. Because that coalition from 2020 right now is well fractured, and there's seepage among Hispanic voters, there's seepage among black voters, there's seepage among women. And certainly the Republican part of that that was important in 2020 is another part of that coalition that is running up against a wall. How do you find, and you're in a ticklish space, and I really want people to understand this, as the DNC chairman with a White House, you are in a ticklish space. You were you weren't like in my situation where I didn't have a White House to respond to. You have to take into account the political operations and intent of the administration, as well as where the president wants to go with his campaign. All that said, what are the efforts right now that are going to reinforce those measures that bring back that tighten up that coalition of voters that right now, because of what's happening in Palestine, because of the way African Americans feel they've been treated by the party, that you're able to re-cement, if you can, that coalition and strengthen it for 2024?
Well, Michael, we faced the midterms, and what we heard was the same thing we're hearing now in terms of the polls are saying this and the polls are saying that. And you and I both know the most important poll is the poll that happens on Election Day. And that poll that happened on Election Day in the midterms, the poll that happened last November, the polls that we've seen in special election after special election have demonstrated that in the end of the day, when the American people go to the polls and they see the contrast that they have between chaos and progress, between hope and fear, they are going to double down on hope. And so we're going all around the country, and we're not leading anything on the field. Just over the past 2 weeks, where have I been? I went to Alaska. I went to Nevada. I went to Battleground State, North Carolina. I've been in Chicago. I'll be out in Utah soon. I'm going to Wisconsin shortly after that. And so we're going everywhere, every place, because not only is the presidency on the ballot, but also U.S. Senate races and the control of the House and breaking up some of these supermajorities. And so that means being in rural spaces, in urban spaces, in suburban places, making sure that folks know what Joe Biden and Democrats have been able to do. I mean, I've gotten red in the face just talking about all of the accomplishments. This president has done more legislatively than any president since Lyndon Baines Johnson. And he did it with a 50-50 Senate on a good day and then a less than a 5-seat majority in the House. All we have seen from Donald Trump is a campaign based on retribution and payback. He doesn't say anything about improving the quality of life of the American people. But Joe Biden gets up every single day for Black folks, for Latinos, for all of Americans, basically thinking about how can I make life better for you? How can I make sure that the American dream is alive and well for not only you, but for your children and your grandchildren? That is the contrast in this race, and that is what I'm going out. And I think surrogates like Mitch Landrieu and all of us, Mitch and I were in Eastern North Carolina this week, making that case to rural voters in those spaces. And as you all know, and Michael, you know this, Democrats have not always been in those rural areas. We kind of ceded that to Republicans. Well, game on. We're going everywhere, and we aren't ceding anything to anybody. We're going to fight for every single vote because we got the receipts in order to prove that this president actually works and fights for the American people.
I was going to say, get yourself a bus, brother. I know of what I speak.
I love a bus. I love a bus.
He's going to be FaceTiming you from the bus, being like, oh, you should talk me into this. Mr. Chairman, help us understand the thinking of painting potential VP picks as extreme before the former president has even picked who his VP contender will be.
This is the thing. We don't have to paint them as extreme. They're extreme. All of those MAGA apples are rotten. Every single one of them. They are going to bend over backwards to do whatever Donald Trump they believe they need to do in order to get into Donald Trump's good graces. And we've seen it on every Sunday show. We've seen it in all of the interviews. They won't say that, you know, if the election happens and Donald Trump wins, that they'll accept the election results. This is America. You know, in the president's remarks to the cadets yesterday, he basically said, you are not pledged to a president of the United States. You're pledged to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Many of these people that Donald Trump is looking at in terms for the VP, these are elected officials who also make that same pledge to protect and defend the Constitution. But this is a man who has said that he wants to be a dictator on day one. This is a man who does not believe in our Constitution, does not believe in that pledge that he also took. And so all of them, the election denialism, the anti-choice, attacking the Affordable Care Act and health care of the American people, selling out working families for billionaires. All of them are extreme. They're all MAGA apple or rotten apples, and we are going to expose them through our project at the DNC.